You're eating healthy and you know you're eating enough for your body's physical needs, but for some reason, you're always hungry. So how do you deal with that without overeating and gaining weight? Today, we're gonna talk about that. So recently I got a comment on one of my videos from Rachel and she said this. Hey Sarah, I love your videos. Thank you, Rachel, that's very sweet of you. I have a quick question. I feel like I am always hungry. I drink lots of water and definitely don't eat tiny meals. I feel like I'm always getting a grumbly stomach and need a second meal or snacks. When I'm always hungry, I end up binging or overeating. Do you have any tips? Thanks. Thanks, Rachel, for that question. It's an excellent one, and it's something that I myself have struggled with in the past, this feeling of always being hungry and never being able to satisfy my appetite. And if you're dealing with this, know you're not alone because Rachel's dealing with it. I have dealt with it myself, and it's something that has a lot of different factors. There are a lot of different things that can affect our hunger and our fullness. And for you, it might just be one thing, it might be a few of these things in combination, but I'm just gonna walk you through the different things that could be at play here, and then you can kind of listen and do a little self-assessment and figure out if any of these are holding true for you. So the first thing we need to look at here is, are you actually hungry? Because we can eat for a lot of reasons other than physical hunger. A big one of those is emotional eating. Whether you're bored or happy or sad or angry, there's a lot of different things that can cause us to eat. And if you do think that you're falling into that emotional eating camp, I have a whole video about how to manage that, so I will link that for you. There's a lot of great information there about how to deal with the emotional eating if you are in that boat. Another thing that can make you feel hungry when you're not actually hungry is thirst. A lot of times we get those confused. Now, Rachel mentioned in her question that that's not the case with her, but it might be the case with you. So definitely pay attention to how much water you're drinking and what's going on with that. And I know for me personally, I notice that if I'm actually thirsty, but I think I'm hungry, I tend to crave really watery foods like melon, for example. So that can be kind of a little sign there if you're not sure if it's thirst or hunger. And you can just drink some water and see, if it goes away or if you're still hungry. And as you pay attention to it more, it'll be a lot easier for you to figure out which it is. Another thing to look at is, are you actually paying attention to your food when you are eating? So if we're eating in a distracted environment, either we're playing on our phone or we're watching a movie or eating in the car or doing something else where we're not able to totally focus on our food, then we might not get all of those fullness cues that we would if we were really immersed in the experience and paying attention to the flavors and the textures and the smells and all of those things that come along with eating. Now for Rachel, I have talked to her before in the comments on my videos and over on Instagram and stuff like that. So I know that she is someone who's definitely aware of the mindfulness thing, but if you aren't, it's definitely something to think about because you will be amazed how much of a difference it can make. And if you've ever had that experience where you've eaten something and like you get to the end and you feel like you don't even know where it went, then that's definitely something to look at, because it's not just the food going in our stomach that lets our brain know that we're full. It's also a lot of visual cues and just the whole experience of eating. And if you're eating good food, you want to experience it, so try to pay attention when you're eating your meals. The next thing you can look at is what is actually making up your meals as far as carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And this is something that's pretty individual for every person. We all like a little bit of a different mix of these, so it's something to play around with. And this kind of ties into the mindfulness thing of paying attention to your meals, because it's also important to pay attention to how your meals make you feel. And you might notice that one meal makes you feel really full, another one kind of leads you into that always feeling hungry, or maybe spikes your blood sugar too much and you feel kind of crummy, or you feel like it's too much and too heavy and you feel sluggish. And that all is an individual thing. I think the best place to start is with a pretty even mix of carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and kind of start there in the middle and then adjust from there and figure out what makes you feel the best. And I do find that a lot of people who are trying to quote unquote eat healthy, a lot of times they go a little lower on the fat side, which can be a mistake because fat is not bad. It's just, as with all foods, about getting a high quality, healthy version. So don't shy away from fat if you feel like you're doing that. Definitely incorporate it into your meals whether it's dressing on your salad or some avocado or a great grass-fed cheese or grass-fed butter. There's a lot of different options, so just pay attention to that. And you can even have fattier foods like nuts and seeds or olives. There's so many different options, and a lot of times when we're eating healthy, those can kind of get pushed to the side, so make sure you're not skipping on those fatty foods. The next thing to look at is veggies, and a lot of people just simply aren't eating that many vegetables, and vegetables can really help make you feel full because they have a ton of fiber and water, which help fill you up, but they also have a lot of nutrients. And some people find that even if they're getting enough as far as calories goes for what their body needs, if they're not getting those nutrients, those little pieces of the puzzle, their body can actually make them still feel hungry because it's trying to get that thing that they're missing. So I say go crazy with the vegetables, have unlimited veggies, get a lot of variety in there, and that can really help. The next thing you might want to look at is the size of your meals. Now, Rachel mentioned that she's not eating super tiny meals, but I did want to mention this for you out there because you might be. And it's especially common, I think, with people who are weight conscious, whether they're trying to maintain their weight or lose weight or maybe just eat healthier overall, that sometimes the meals can kind of start to shrink down and shrink down and shrink down until they're really not that substantial. And then that can lead to more of the snacking in between meals because you're not getting enough food to make you feel satisfied at the actual meal time. And for some people, this can make them feel a little nervous because they're worried, well, if I eat these bigger meals, am I going to end up eating too much? But the thing is, if you eat a meal that can make you feel satisfied and hold you over to the next meal, then you're not going to need all those snacks in there. So make sure that you're not skimping on the meals and you're really giving your body an adequate amount of food at mealtime. The next thing to think about is sleep. And sleep can really have a big effect on your overall health, but also on your hunger. Sleep does so much to give our body the rest it needs, but also to help regulate hormones. And there's all this stuff connected to sleep. And it's very common if you're not getting enough sleep to actually feel more hungry during the day. So make sure you're getting your sleep. Your body really needs that rest, and it is so important. And in a similar vein, stress can also be a big factor because it can mess with our hormones, and people react in a certain way to stress a lot of times when it comes to food. Some people lose their hunger, but then a lot of people also have more hunger, or they feel driven more towards foods that really aren't that healthy for you and not really that satisfying. So take a look at your stress levels and see what you can do to help make that a little bit better. And that's going to depend on your situation. It might just be doing some different activities that help relieve your stress, or it might be looking at what's going on in your life and saying that, you might need to adjust some things so that you can take care of yourself, because if you aren't taking care of you and you're not feeling good, then eventually you're going to burn out and you're not going to be able to do all that stuff that you want to do anyways. Another thing you might want to look at is your menstrual cycle. So during the month, your hormones are going back and forth and there's all these fluctuations, and depending on where you are in your cycle, you might notice that you have more hunger. I know for me personally, the week before my period, that time when you also tend to have more of the PMS symptoms, I am just more hungry. It just happens. And I can sometimes feel like, no matter what I eat, I'm just still hungry. But I know that that's probably why it's happening, and I just try to be aware of it. And I also try to give myself some grace. I'm like, this is how my body's feeling. It's just part of this natural fluctuation of what's going on in my body, and I try to just not worry about it. And I also feel like, if that's the way my body feels, there's probably a reason for that. So just be aware of where you are in your cycle and see if you notice a pattern. And if you do, then it's something that you can kind of anticipate, and it doesn't have to freak you out, because then you have a better idea of what's going on and why it's happening. Another thing to look at is any changes in your activity level. So I think especially with the kind of diet and exercise mentality that's so prevalent in our culture, we think if we're exercising, that's to burn extra calories, and so we should eat the same amount, or we're trying to lose weight, or all this stuff. And the thing is that when you are moving your body more, it's really likely that that could increase your hunger. And this goes back to trusting your hunger cues. So if you have had an increase in activity, you might just need more food than you did before, and that's totally natural and totally normal for your body to feel that way. So if that's the case for you, then make sure that you're giving giving your body what it needs. Something else that can affect your hunger are your medications, and many medications have the side effect of increasing your appetite or decreasing your appetite. So if you've had any changes recently, then you might want to look into that. And I mean, it depends on what the medication is. Definitely talk to your doctor. In some cases, there might be an alternative or something else you can use if it's a big issue for you. Obviously, if it's something that's medically necessary, there are some things that are more important than maybe putting on a few extra pounds because you have an increase in hunger. It's just something to think about. And if you have had some changes and you think that might be the cause, then definitely talk with your doctor and figure out what is going to be the best solution for you. And this last one I want to talk about is really, really important. So you want to make sure that you don't have a preoccupation with food. And you might not even realize this is happening, but it is very common if you are someone who is really paying attention to what you're eating and trying to lose weight, or even for people who are just trying to eat healthier. So for example, if you eat your breakfast and then right after breakfast is over, you're already thinking about lunch, and even in that time between the meals, you're like thinking about, what you're gonna eat, looking at how much time into your next meal, and you're just like always thinking about food, then that's something you might want to look at, because that's really starting to go into a place that is not very healthy for you mentally, because we shouldn't just be thinking about food all the time. Now, obviously, I think about food a lot because I'm a dietitian, and I think food is wonderful and it's a great part of life, but it shouldn't be your whole life. And if you find yourself in that place where you're preoccupied with food, you can definitely start to feel like you're hungry all the time because all you're thinking about is food, and so then you can start to feel like you're hungry even if your body physically isn't hungry, and it can just kind of go down this path that you don't want to go down. And if you are experiencing that, definitely take a look at it, because it's not a place where you want to be, and you might have to reach out to someone and get some extra help, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's something that I have dealt with in my past as far as being preoccupied with food. It's not a fun place to be, and if you need some help to get through that, definitely reach out and get it, because when you're preoccupied with food like that, you're really not able to live your life to the fullest and enjoy everything else that life has to offer. So those are some things to think about if you feel like you're always hungry no matter what. I hope you liked this video and that you found the information helpful. And let me know in the comments if one of the things I talked about, or maybe even several of them, were ringing true for you and you feel like might be the situation that you're in. Definitely share that in the comments below and we can all kind of talk about it. And if you are new to my channel and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition info and healthy recipes, make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.